I confronted my family for ignoring my efforts and showed them who's the real boss of the family. My mom's hand is wrapped around my wrist like she's trying to steer me back into my usual spot, half behind the serving table, half invisible, while my uncle is already clinking a spoon against a wine glass and calling for the speech like he's the MC of the year. The backyard is packed shoulder to shoulder, fairy lights already on even though the sun's not fully down, and the smell of grilled meat and citronella candles is mixing into this thick, dizzying cloud that makes my head buzz. I'm still holding the wireless microphone because I was the one who tested it, paired it, and fixed the feedback squeal when Dad tried to just press buttons. My cousin's toddler is shrieking near the S-ski. Someone's Spotify playlist is bleeding into the mic through the speaker, and I can feel that familiar family pressure building. Everyone looking at me like I'm a tool they've already decided how to use. Mom leans in, smile tight enough to crack teeth, and whispers, "Don't you dare make this weird. Smile. Just say something nice." My stomach is hot. My palms are sweating around the mic. And Dad, standing dead center like he paid for the whole event, laughs loudly and says, all right, quiet down. Our little organizer is going to tell us how proud she is of the family." The word organizer lands like slap because it's the closest they'll ever get to admitting I've been carrying this whole circus on my back. It was a Tuesday night 2 months ago when the family gathering started forming the way these things always do, with a vague text in the group chat and a pile of assumptions that I would handle the rest. Mom wrote, "We should do something nice for Nana's 80th. Everyone free next month." And within minutes the chat filled with thumbs ups, heart emojis, and people volunteering opinions without volunteering effort. Aunt Leanne wanted it classy. Uncle Rob wanted a roast like the old days. My brother Josh said, "Not too early, I'm working," as if time revolves around him. My cousin Bree said, "I can make a reel," because of course she did. And then Mum tagged me directly. "Can you just organize the venue stuff? You're good at that. Now would you mind?" Not thank you. Just that casual assignment like it's my job title in the family. Fixer, planner, unpaid staff. I should have said no right there. I even hovered over the keyboard, thumb twitching, trying to type something like, "I'm happy to help, but someone else needs to do X and Y." But I could already hear Mum's voice in my head. "Stop being difficult. It's Nana. Don't be selfish." So I said yes. I told myself I was doing it for Nana, because I love her, because she's the only one who's ever looked me in the face and actually listened when I spoke. Nana remembers things. Nana asks questions. Nana hugs like she means it. If I could give her one perfect day without family drama bleeding through, it felt worth it. So I went into planning mode. Booked the catering. Ordered the cake. Hired the marquees because the forecast was uncertain. Bought the cheap extension cords and power boards because I know, from experience, that someone will plug in a slow cooker, a speaker, and fairy lights, and then act shocked when the fuse blows. I made a run sheet. I set up a spreadsheet. I organized the pickup times. I chased dietary requirements like a polite stalker. I drove to Nana's house twice to measure the backyard, because last time Uncle Rob insisted the gazebo would fit easy, and it didn't, and everyone acted like it was my fault the laws of geometry exist. And the whole time, the family did what they always do. They watched from the sidelines and offered commentary. Mom would call me and say, "Make sure it's not too expensive," while also saying, "But it needs to look nice. People will take photos." Josh texted me at midnight asking if we had good alcohol, then didn't offer a cent. Bree asked if I could move the cake table closer to the aesthetic wall, and sent me Pinterest screenshots like I'm her event planner. Dad gave me a list of people to invite that included relatives we haven't spoken to in years, then got offended when I asked if he called them. "Why would I call them?" he said. "That's your job. My job. Like I'm on payroll." The thing is, I've been the capable one for as long as I can remember. I was the kid who packed my own lunch because Mom forgot. The teenager who picked Josh up when he got drunk and Mom didn't want to deal with it. The adult who just handles the family phone plans because Dad hates calling companies. The one who books the restaurants, prints the boarding passes, writes the cards, pays the deposits, remembers the birthdays, buys the gifts, brings the extra chairs, brings the ice, brings the sunscreen, brings the spare everything. And then I stand there while they take photos and tell people Our family is so close. Like closeness is something you say, not something you do. I didn't snap because I wanted to be the boss. I snapped because I realized I already was in all the ways that mattered, just without the respect. The week before Nana's party, Mom called me in a panic. "Your father says the caterer is too expensive," she said, voice already trembling like she was gearing up for martyr mode. "He's saying we should cancel and just do home food." I was standing in the grocery aisle, staring at a wall of milk, because my brain had hit that familiar overload point where even choosing between brands feels like a test. "We can't cancel," I said. "The deposit is paid. The menu is set. Nana's friends are coming. It's in my name." Mom sucked in a breath. "Well," she said, "your father thinks." "I don't care what he thinks," I said, and the sharpness in my voice surprised me. A woman next to me glanced over. I lowered my tone. "Tell him if he wants to change it. He can call the caterer and cover the cancellation fee." Silence. Then Mum said, small and wounded, "Why are you so hostile lately?" Hostile. That's what they call it when I stop being convenient. 2 days later, Josh texted me. "Need to bring my mate. He's going through a breakup." I replied, "No plus ones. Nana's friends are already counted." Josh replied, "You're acting like you own the party." And I stared at that message for a long time because, yeah, I was acting like I owned it. Because I was the one doing everything. Then came the final straw. Bree posted on Instagram a behind-the-scenes story of the party setup. My spreadsheet printed out on Nana's table, my run sheet, my handwritten notes, and she captioned it, "I've been organizing like crazy for Nana's big day," with a little sparkle emoji. She didn't tag me. She didn't mention me. She just wore my work like a costume. I didn't message her. I didn't call her out online. I just saved the screenshot and felt something harden quietly in my chest. The morning of the party, I arrived at Nana's place at 7:30 a.m. with my car loaded like I was moving house. Chairs, tablecloths, a speaker, extension cords, decorations, boxes of cupcakes, a spare esky, because I knew someone would forget theirs. Nana opened the door in her slippers, hair in rollers, and smiled at me like sunshine. "There you are, love," she said, and I felt my throat tighten immediately. "You've been working so hard." That alone, those 5 words, almost made me cry because no one else had said them. Not once. By 9 a.m., the backyard looked like an event space. Marquee up, tables arranged, photo wall set. I was sweating through my shirt, and my hair was sticking to my neck. Mom arrived at 9:30 with a bag of chips and 3 bunches of flowers, looked around at everything I'd set up, and said, "Oh good, it looks fine," like she'd been slightly worried I might embarrass her, and now she was relieved. Dad arrived at 10 o'clock, wearing his host voice already, clapping people on the shoulder, telling Nana's neighbors, "We've put so much work into this." And I watched him gesture vaguely at the whole yard like he'd personally carried the marquee on his back. Josh arrived at 10:15 empty-handed and asked where the beer was. Bree arrived at 10:20 with a ring light and said, "Okay, everyone, group photos soon," while stepping over the cable I'd taped down so no one would trip. I kept my mouth shut. I did what I always do. I smiled. I redirected. I fixed. When the speaker crackled, I fixed it. When the ice ran low, I refilled it. When Dad forgot Nana's friend's name, I whispered it. When Mom wanted the flowers more symmetrical, I adjusted them. When Josh spilled sauce on the tablecloth, I swapped it out. I moved like a shadow, keeping the day running smoothly while everyone else enjoyed the spotlight. And then, right before the speech moment, I overheard Mom talking to Nana's church friend, Mrs. Hammond. Mom was standing near the drinks table, laugh bright, hand on her chest. "We've been run off our feet organizing," she was saying. "You know how it is. Family stuff." Mrs. Hammond smiled and said, "It looks wonderful. You must be so proud." And Mum sighed, the perfect proud sigh, and said, "Oh yes, we do a lot for everyone. We're always the ones holding things together." I felt my vision go a little tunnel-wide. Always the ones. We, holding things together. Like I hadn't been there since sunrise. Like my body wasn't literally sore from carrying their we. Then Dad clinked the glass. "Speech," he called, grinning. "We'll get our little organizer to say a few words." And Mum grabbed my wrist, tried to steer me, tried to keep me in the role. Smile. Be nice. Don't make it weird. That's where the story began. Me standing there with the mic, sweat on my palms, my family lined up behind me like they were ready to accept applause for my labor. I looked out at the crowd. Nana sitting in her chair with her hands folded in her lap, eyes bright. Her friends from church. A few neighbors. My aunts and uncles, already holding their phones up. Bree angled for the best shot. Mum's smile tightened, warning me again without words. Dad stood with his chest out, ready for the what a great family moment. Josh was already half bored, beer in hand. And I realized something. If I didn't do it now, I'd keep doing it forever. I'd keep being the helper until I burned out, and they'd still say I was dramatic for being tired. So I didn't do a sweet speech. I held the mic a little closer and said, "Before we toast Nana, I want to say something quickly." Dad's grin faltered. Mum's hand tightened on my wrist. "I'm happy Nana is loved," I said, and my voice was steady in a way that felt almost unfamiliar. "She deserves today, but I also need everyone to hear this. I organized this entire event." A ripple went through the group, small laughs, like people thought I was joking. I continued calm. I booked the catering. I paid the deposit. I hired the marquee. I set up the sound. I coordinated the guests. I've been here since 7:30 this morning, setting everything up. Mum's face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. Dad's jaw tightened. Bree's phone lowered slightly, like her brain didn't know how to frame this. I didn't stop, and that would be fine, I said, if it was acknowledged like a normal thing. But in this family, it never is. My effort gets treated like background noise, like it's automatic. Like I exist to keep everything running while everyone else takes credit. Someone coughed. Someone's fork stopped halfway to their mouth. Nana's eyes widened, but she didn't look angry. She looked attentive, like she was bracing to understand. Dad stepped forward, voice low but sharp. "All right," he said, forcing a laugh. "Enough. Don't do this." I turned my head slightly toward him, still holding the mic, and said into it, "No, I'm going to finish." The words weren't loud, but they carried. The whole yard went still. I looked back at the group. "This isn't just about Nana's birthday," I said. "It's about years of me being the person who fixes everything. Rides, bills, bookings, plans, while being treated like I'm overreacting for wanting basic respect." Mum whispered, "Stop," and it came out like a hiss. And here's the part where I showed them who's the real boss. But it wasn't some chest-thumping dominance thing. It was boundaries. It was consequences. It was me making the invisible labor visible, then removing myself from it. I said, "So from today, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not organizing family events. I'm not managing the phone plans. I'm not being the emergency contact for everyone who can't be bothered to plan their own life. If you want things, you can organize them. You can pay for them. You can show up early and do the work." Dad's face went red. "You're embarrassing your mother," he snapped. Mum's eyes were glassy. "How could you do this to me?" she whispered, as if I'd stab her in public. I felt my throat tighten, that old instinct to backpedal, to apologize, to smooth it over. Then I looked at Nana. Nana was watching me with this quiet intensity, lips pressed together, and she gave the tiniest nod. Barely there, but enough. So I breathed and said, "I'm not doing this to you. I'm doing it for me." Then I turned toward Nana, softened my voice, and finally did the toast part. "Nana," I said, and I could feel my eyes burning now, happy 80th. "I love you. You're the reason I still show up." Nana reached up, patted her chest, as if she was holding her heart in place. I lifted my glass. "To Nana," I said. The crowd echoed it, some loud, some shaky. Glasses clinked. The moment moved forward because life does, but the air had changed. The story had been interrupted. The script had been rewritten. Afterward, chaos tried to reassert itself. Dad cornered me near the side gate, away from the crowd, voice low and furious. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he hissed. "You think you're better than everyone now?" I stared at him, my hand still trembling slightly. "No," I said. "I think I'm tired." Mum appeared behind him like a storm cloud. "You ruined it," she said, eyes wet. "You couldn't just let us have one nice day." I let out a slow breath. "I gave Nana a nice day," I said. "I built it. You just wanted the photo." Mum's face twisted. That's not fair. Is it not? I asked, and my voice stayed quiet. Tell me one time you've said thank you without immediately asking me to do something else. Mum opened her mouth, then closed it because the truth is she couldn't. Bree wandered over pretending she'd just happened to be there, phone still in hand, eyes glittering with gossip. That was intense, she said, half smiling. Are you okay? I looked at her and said, you posted my spreadsheet and called it your work. Bree blinked fast. It was just a story, she said, defensive. Everyone knows you help. Help. Again, the minimizing word. I don't help, I said. Ido. There's a difference. Josh approached with his beer, eyebrows raised like he was entertained. So what? Now you're going on strike, he joked. I turned to him. Yeah, I said deadpan. I am. Josh laughed, then realized I wasn't laughing. His smile fell off. You're serious? Dead serious, I said. And for the first time in my life, my family looked at me like they didn't fully know what to do with me. Because the boss of our family wasn't Dad. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't Josh with his loud opinions. It was the person who quietly made sure everything worked. The person who held the plans, the passwords, the schedules, the deposits, the emergency contacts, the one who always showed up early and left late. Me. They'd gotten used to treating that like a guaranteed resource, like electricity. They didn't thank the lights for turning on. They just got angry when the room went dark. Later, when the party thinned out and Nana's friends had gone home with leftovers wrapped in foil, Nana asked me to sit with her on the porch. The fairy lights were warm above us. The night air felt cooler on my sweaty skin. My body ached in that deep way it does after you've been running on adrenaline all day. Nana patted my knee. They don't see, she said quietly. Not until you stop. I swallowed hard. I didn't want to make it about me, I admitted. Nana snorted softly. Love, she said. They make it about you every day when they assume you'll do it. I laughed once, wetly, because it was true and it hurt. What happens now? I whispered. Nana looked at me, eyes sharp even at 80. Now, she said, you let them learn, and that's what I did. The next week, Mum tried to pretend nothing happened. She texted the group chat a bunch of photos from Nana's birthday with captions like perfect family day, and tagged me as event manager like it was a joke. Dad didn't speak to me for 3 days, then called like nothing happened and said, hey, can you sort the phone plan? It's not working. I stared at my phone, felt that old reflex to say yes, and then I said, no, call the provider. He went silent. What? I'm not doing it, I repeated calm. He exploded. You're being ridiculous. It takes you 5 minutes. It takes me 5 minutes, I said, because I've spent years learning how to do everything for everyone. He swore, called me ungrateful, hung up. Then Mum called, crying. Of course. Your father's stressed, she sniffed. Why are you punishing us? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm changing my role. She didn't like that word. Role? She repeated like it was insulting. We're family. Exactly, I said. I want to be family, not staff. After that, it was like watching toddlers encounter consequences for the first time. Josh missed Nana's appointment pickup because he assumed I'd do it. He called me furious. Nana's waiting. And I said, then go get her. Bree tried to organize a dinner and forgot to book the restaurant, then acted shocked when the place was full. Mum tried to run a group gift and got overwhelmed because people didn't respond, then said, how do you do this every time? Like it was magic, not labor. Dad struggled with the bills for a month and then asked if I could just set up auto pay, and I said, you can. I'll walk you through it once, but you're doing it. And slowly, painfully, something shifted, not because they had a sudden moral awakening, because the convenience was gone. The real confrontation, the one that mattered, happened about 3 weeks later at a Sunday lunch. Mum served roast chicken and tried to control the vibe by acting extra cheerful. Dad was sulky. Josh kept making little digs. Careful, don't ask them to pass the salt, they'll charge you a management fee. And Bree laughed too loudly at her own jokes. I sat there chewing slowly, letting the comments bounce off me like rain, because for the first time, I wasn't negotiating my boundaries in my head. They were just there. Halfway through lunch, Mum finally put her fork down and said, So are you done with your little tantrum? The table went quiet. I wiped my mouth with my napkin and looked at her. It wasn't a tantrum, I said. It was the truth. Dad scoffed. You think you're the boss of everyone, he muttered. I nodded once. No, I said. I've been acting like the boss because someone had to, and I'm done. You're all adults. You can run your own lives. Mum's eyes narrowed. So you're going to abandon us. There it was, the emotional blackmail, dressed up as concern. I leaned back slightly, kept my voice even. I'm not abandoning you, I said. I'm choosing not to be used. If you want me in your life, treat me like a person you respect, not a resource you drain. Josh rolled his eyes. Bree stared at her plate. Dad looked away. Mum's face tightened like she was trying not to cry. Then Nana, from the end of the table, said quietly, about time. Everyone froze, because Nana doesn't speak up often, and when she does, it lands like a gavel. Mum turned to her, scandalized. Mum! Nana waved her hand. I've watched, she said, voice calm but firm. I've watched them run around like a little worker bee while you all sit there and take honey. Josh sputtered. That's not. Nana cut him off with a look. It is, she said, and I'm tired of it. I sat there feeling my throat close up, not from sadness, from relief, because I wasn't alone in seeing it anymore. So yeah, I confronted them. I did it at a family gathering where they couldn't pretend they didn't hear me. And I showed them who the real boss was, not by screaming, not by humiliating them, but by doing the one thing that actually changes a family dynamic. I stopped doing the work that kept their illusion alive. They're still mad sometimes. They still try little guilt trips. Mum still says things like, you've changed, like it's an insult. Dad still tests boundaries to see if I'll cave. Josh still tries to make jokes when he's uncomfortable. Bree still wants credit for things she didn't do. But the difference is I don't collapse into my old role anymore. I don't automatically reach for the mic. I don't rush in to fix the mess they made while they complain about the smell. And weirdly, the more I stay consistent, the more they adjust. Not because they suddenly became grateful saints. Because they finally understand something my family never respected until now. The person who does the work controls the outcome. Not out of ego, out of reality. I'm not the boss because I wanted to be. I'm the boss because I was already running the whole thing quietly, invisibly, until I finally said it out loud and put the mic down.